It's Ramadan now, so there's more jihad in Syria, Baltimore, and Bangladesh. And the killers still think they're serving God, though they're all evil from here to Marrakesh. Jihad is a big lie on the human race. Don't let it make you fall from grace. David Wood is here with us tonight. That's something new. And David, I got to ask your indulgence because we have gotten a surah like it. It's true. It's true.
Impossible.
It's a very big deal. I know. It's a red letter day here at This Week in Jihad. But, you know, last week I started with a song. And so this is Ramadan. And so a viewer, exactly, a viewer of this program sent me another song. And I think that in his honor, this is from Paul. I'm going to have to sing a bit of it. This is to the tune of Johnny Cash's famous I Walk the Line. I keep my fly wide open all the time. The other inmates beat me for my crime. I'm lying in a pool of blood that is all mine. Because she's 9, I'm doing time.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That was a pretty good Johnny Cash too.
Thank you very much. That's Elvis, actually.
That's Elvis.
Yes.
Yeah, what's going on?
Talking
about the man in black, man. The man in black, not Elvis.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. That's all I know how to say from him. Anyway, there we go. Thank you, Paul, for that. And I think that now I have to admit I am not indeed a prophet because somebody has written a counter-jihad song just like the ones that I have been giving you, songs, poems, etc., etc. The other big news, David, before we get to the real news, is that the Jihad Watch site is under severe attack and has been for quite some time. We're holding strong. We're still on.
I remember that from years ago.
It's actually been
constantly being attacked.
It's been quiet for quite a long time, but recently they've started again. They're hammering the site with DOS attacks. But so far it's holding strong. I mention this because somebody wrote in the comments last week, hey, it would be really nice if you put the sources for these stories. And you may not know, ladies and gentlemen, that all the sources of all the stories are at jihadwatch.org all the time, and many more that we don't get to. But anyway, right now, what's interesting is that my tech guy has discovered that the attacks are coming from the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Now, ordinarily, this is something that he says you don't even look for, because all his customers, they just want the DOS attacks stopped. And so he doesn't even look for usually where they come from. But he was working on this one, and he happened upon some irrefutable evidence, unmistakable evidence that this is coming from servers within the government of the Islamic Republic. So I just want to give a shout out to the Ayatollah Khamenei. I know you're watching tonight, and we are still alive at jihadwatch.org. So you keep trying, and we'll keep trying too. And after all, it is Ramadan, so I don't expect you to do anything else. Now, David, we got big jihad this week in Syria, do we not?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And so the details are a bit sketchy. There are a lot of conflicting reports. But one thing that seems certain is that the media reports are wildly understated. That we see all these terrible videos of people being tortured, people being killed, stacks of bodies, and then AP or Reuters or somebody will say 20 people were killed. And it looks like what it actually is far greater. And this guy here said in the video that you can find, once again, at jihadwatch.org, DOS is denial of service, folks. Oh, I see I don't have the super chats anymore. So that lasted. That didn't last. I've already been banned again, ladies and gentlemen. So sorry about that, but...
Wait a second. I see a super chat button. Let me see.
I don't have one.
Well,
anyway,
because they don't like you.
Yeah, I'm not at all surprised.
It'd be funny if they let you get super chats but not send them. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. let people send them, and I can't see them. Anyway, I can't see them. So if you think that you can put super chats in tonight, unfortunately, it's not happening. We have already been demonetized yet again, and looks like YouTube actually owes me some money for the last 2 weeks. But now suddenly super chats come in. That's very strange.
Yeah, see, you can have, they can be stopping you from sending them, and so a button does not appear to you, that would kind of be odd if they don't let you. Your channel is so heinous they will not let you send a super chat, but they'll still let you get. So don't worry, Robert, your days are numbered. If you're already on their list for not being able to send a super chat, they're probably not far away from stopping you once again from receiving them.
Well, folks, it's a bit confusing. I'm as confused as you are. These just appeared now. I don't know why. There wasn't even a option for it a minute ago. But in any case, it's here now. I do not know if any of these will ever actually come through in terms of YouTube actually paying. They seem to be dragging their feet. As a matter of fact, I got a notice saying that they're checking jihadwatch.org for hate. So while the Islamic Republic of Iran is trying to shut it down, YouTube is checking it for hate. They should be checking the Islamic Republic of Iran, but anyway.
Wouldn't you think that if a site is under attack from the mullahs of Iran, that it's probably on the correct side of things?
You'd think.
Wouldn't you just assume that?
I would think so.
Because in other words, if they're like, hey, we got to check out this site and expose all the hate and target it, it's like, wait, so you're actually on the same side with Iran?
Yep, looks like YouTube is lining up with the Islamic Republic.
Yeah. Weird stuff.
So anyway, this guy in Syria said 9,000 Alawites have been killed, and he's so happy that 9,000 Alawites have been killed. And that's what he said. I can't vouch for that, but that was what this guy was saying. He's a Sunni. He loves the jihad. Now, David, what is the deal? Why would he be happy about that? Surely he must be misunderstanding Islam.
No, it's actually he's obeying the Quran, and that's one of the rough parts. We heard it a lot when ISIS was around. We heard, oh, these can't be real Muslims. They're killing their fellow Muslims. They're killing their fellow Muslims they regard as heretics and hypocrites and so on. But that's a command. That's straight out of the Quran. That's Surah 9, verse 73, that Muhammad was commanded not only to wage jihad against unbelievers, but also against hypocrites, people who claim to be following the religion but aren't doing it correctly. And so you had to wage jihad against them as well. And so here we are 14 centuries later, and you've still got Muslims killing Muslims because they're following the wrong kind of Islam or because they're doing something wrong. As far as the numbers are concerned, it's hard to trust any numbers because everyone's got an agenda. There are people either trying to convince Westerners that there's nothing to see here, so they'll dial down the numbers. So if it's thousands, they'll say hundreds or something like that. But also the people who are celebrating the jihad, they might be inflating the numbers because they look how much we're slaughtering these people, because they're trying to impress their Muslim buddies around the world. Look at what we're doing. Look how successful we are. And so I would guess any numbers, you kind of look at the jihadis who are bragging about the numbers and then look at the other people who are, oh, nothing to see here. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle of those things.
That's right, David. As a matter of fact, the Alawites issued a statement saying that 4,000 Alawites had been killed. And so if that's probably more accurate than what the jihadi was saying. On the other hand, of course, the killings are still ongoing. And so the situation is a bit fluid. This is from another video. A little kid here. I don't know how clearly you can see that, but it's a little child being carried on the shoulders of some adults. And he's been given a microphone, and he is saying, "Patience, O Alawites, we will come to slaughter you. We will slaughter you." So here again.
They sure love getting kids involved in anything, whether it's sex, jihad, anything. They just love look how many kids we've got involved in this stuff that most of the world would say is reserved for adults, but we love getting the kids involved.
Yep. And of course, you teach. Who was it said it? The great philosophers Crosby, Stills, and Nash, right? Teach the children well and all that business. And it's true. You impress things upon children at a young age, and they find it difficult to get out of the pattern later on. So can be very dangerous. Meanwhile, we had another military commander holding a bloody cleaver. I really actually should have gotten a picture of this. Let me see if I can do that as we are speaking in this glorious technological age. It kind of reminded me of the killer of drummer Lee Rigby in the UK carrying his bloody knife over to the cameras and starting to talk to
Do interviews.
guys about why he did it.
He was sitting there doing interviews.
Yeah, exactly. And so this guy, he seems to be sitting in a vehicle, and you can see his bloody cleaver there that he's got in his hand, and he's got a microphone, and he is saying, "To the Mujahideen, do not leave any Alawite, male or female. The most respected among them will be slaughtered. The most respected Alawite woman will be slaughtered. Slaughter them all, including the children in the bed. These are pigs. Take them and throw them into the sea." Now, where did this guy get this idea that these are pigs, that these are people who ought to be slaughtered?
Well,
Surely this isn't Islam.
Yeah, kind of a traditional Islamic fashion going back to the Quran and the Hadith about how you describe your enemies.
And so there you go. Once again, these are pigs. And of course, the Jews are called apes and pigs in the Quran. And the Quran says that the unbelievers in general are animals, as well as the most vile of created beings. And consequently, these guys, they act upon these teachings. And this is the big danger of Quranic illiteracy in the West, as well as the tendency to dismiss these things and say, well, the Bible has violent passages too, as if that means, we don't need to be concerned about the Quran being full of exhortations to violence. Anyway, there once was a city called Banyas. This sounds like the beginning of a poem itself, but this is another jihadi in Syria, saying, "There once was a city called Banyas, half Alawite and half Sunni. Now it's half dead and half Sunni. We killed them all. Allahu Akbar."
Well, I'd say you got some competition, Robert.
Yeah, it's a tough week for the poems. Meanwhile, the Patriarch John X of Antioch, there he is, the Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Antioch, he issued a statement saying that the majority of the people who have been killed are Alawite civilians. This is because the Syrian regime, the Jihadi regime, said that it was officials of the Assad regime, which was Alawite. And so, in this case, the officials are wrong, says Patriarch John X. They are not, he says, officials. They're just ordinary civilians, and mostly, he says, women and children. All right.
I got to cry bull on that one, Robert.
Tell me.
You said civilians. If civilians were being killed, we know from experience, if civilians were being killed, Robert, there would be tons of college protests of all these young students who are extremely concerned when civilians get killed. And we know that. We know they're very concerned. They told us over and over and over again, we are extremely concerned about civilian casualties. We will not accept civilian casualties. So by golly, if these rumors were true, we would be seeing all kinds of protests about this. And I haven't seen any. And therefore, it can't be happening.
Must not be.
Because the only other alternative is that they really don't care about civilian casualties and they just hate Jews, and that's impossible.
Yeah, no, inconceivable. All right, this is in Vienna. And in Vienna, there's this huge crowd, and they are all waving the Syrian flag. Now, look at how big this crowd is, and this is just one little screenshot. A massive crowd in Vienna. And they are not holding the Austrian flag. They are holding the Syrian flag, the new Syrian flag, the post-Assad Syrian flag, that is the flag of the Jihadi regime. And they are cheering the massacre of the Alawites and Christians in Syria. Now, David, look, all those people, what do you think is the future of Austria with all those people there in Vienna cheering for jihad murders in Syria?
I have to say, not looking good, Robert. On the one hand, they love to keep bringing more of these people in, right? They can't get enough. It's like, we need more. So there's that. And the people they bring in have birth rates that are massively higher than that of the native populations. So unless something changes, and keep in mind, things can change, policies can change, governments can change, people could actually wake up to what Islam teaches and start exposing it as they should. So something can change. If nothing changes, it's just straightforward mathematics, Robert. Mm-hmm. These guys will eventually dominate your entire population. It's simple, inevitable math. What's amazing is there are people like us who say, oh, okay, therefore we need to change something, and we're demonized for saying, okay, let's not have a bunch of jihadis taking over entire populations. But
indeed,
weird stuff.
Yeah, well, here's more weird stuff. This is on the left, Haja Lahbib. And Haja Lahbib is a member of the European Commission. She is a European commissioner from Belgium. Now, I don't think she's native Belgian, if you ask me. Haja Lahbib is probably actually there because she is an Arab Muslim. And that's why she got this job, so that the Belgians could show and the European Union could show that they are not racist. Anyway, there she is with Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani, a.k.a. Ahmed al-Shara, who is the president of Syria. Now,
well, hey, Robert, I have to say, all this stuff about jihad and so on, this guy's clearly wearing a suit, Robert. So
yeah, he's got a suit. Yeah, how could he be wrong?
Yeah, come on.
How
Robert.
could he be a bad guy?
I was actually buying it because you had all these people. Oh, thousands of people died, and this thousands of people died. No, 4,000, no, 9,000. We killed all these people and stuff. I'm thinking, oh, it's a bloodbath in Syria, but I just saw the evidence in front of my face. That guy clearly has a very nice suit, looks exactly like a Westerner. Come on. If you're going to say this guy's radical, come on. Look, you're wearing a suit that looks almost exactly like that, Robert. Are you radical too? Come on.
Yeah, there you go. It's irrefutable. That's actually his act. That's what he did. That is al-Jawlani. I should really say al-Golani, because I want to emphasize that his name as a jihadi, as the jihad leader of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a jihad group in Syria that was affiliated and still is affiliated with, or actually he claims it was not affiliated with Al-Qaeda anymore, but an Al-Qaeda group in Syria. He was the head of it, and he took the name Abu Muhammad al-Golani. His real name, at least according to himself, is Ahmed al-Shara, which he's using again now. But Abu Muhammad al-Golani. So, father of Muhammad from the Golan. The Golan Heights, of course, being a part of Israel, annexed after the 1967 war, annexed in 1981, and claimed as part of Israel today, but the Syrians still claim it as their own, and he took the name. al-Golani, as if to emphasize he's going to wage jihad, he's going to get the Golan back, he's going to fight the Jews, and so on. And meanwhile, he's fighting against Assad, trying to get power in Syria. He takes power in Syria, all unexpectedly and suddenly a few months ago, and starts wearing a suit, stops calling himself Abu Muhammad al-Golani, starts going by his original name, Ahmad al-Shura, puts on his suit, goes to Europe, gets $254 million from the European Commission. This is when he's getting the money. And he tells everybody, look, I'm not a jihadi anymore. I've given all that up. Now I believe in democracy. Now, he fooled them all. I mean, of course, they're so eager to be fooled.
I have to say, Robert, if I didn't know better, which I don't, I would think that after you had ISIS just, try to take over the entire Middle East and so on, eventually got stopped. You had Al-Qaeda doing their thing, all these terrorist groups. You had a variety of terrorist groups in that area. But if I didn't know better, I would think that these guys sort of regrouped, the jihadis sort of regrouped, rethought their plan, and said, last time we basically took on these Western nations too rapidly, and we weren't ready for it. Right now, we need to focus on ousting Assad and duping Western nations into thinking that we're going to form lasting, stable democracies and will be friendly towards them. We need to do that first until we consolidate power and we've been able to put together a solid government, a solid military and stuff like that. And then we can let the cat out of the bag. But at first, we can't just launch right. We can't be fighting Assad and be fighting all these Western nations at the same time. We need to whisper nice thoughts in their ears. We need to put on some suits and seem like we're going to be modern governments. We need to do all these kinds of things. That's what I would think if I didn't know better, because there's no way Western nations would be stupid enough to fall for such an obvious trick.
Western nations are so incredibly stupid. He didn't even wear a tie when he got interviewed at the BBC. This is a bit from a screenshot from his documentary that they did, the interview they did with him at the BBC. On the right there is Jeremy Bowen, who is a BBC reporter. And I loved Jake Wallace Simmons. I don't know which one, so sorry, Jake. But in any case, he had a wonderful piece on this, and he says, the body language. There was the murderous Golani, an erstwhile jihadi who bounced between the group that committed the 9/11 atrocities and the one that beheaded James Foley, swaggering along the cavernous corridors of Assad's presidential palace. And beside him scurried the BBC's international editor, that's Jeremy Bowen right there, all starry-eyed and smiley, like a little boy with his big brother. And the BBC, of course, gave Golani a very, very positive puff piece and assured the world that he was a moderate and so on. After all, he's wearing a tie. Well, he's not even wearing the tie there, but he's at least got the jacket. And
you know what he did? He looked at some of your videos and said, how does Robert do it? He just goes around wearing a suit everywhere. So maybe that'll work for me.
Yep. He knew the suit would do it. I told you that 100 years ago in an airport. I don't know if you remember, but you were asking me sometime way back, like 10, 15 years ago, we were somewhere, and we were doing something and then ended up together in the airport, if I recall correctly. And you said, you even wear a suit in the airport? And I said, oh yeah, makes a big difference how people react to you, how people treat you. You should try it. And al-Golani, he knows the deal. It's true fact.
Yep. As ZZ Top said it, women go crazy about a sharp-dressed man.
That's it, man. That's it. All right. So This is a very musical show this week. We had Johnny Cash, and now we got ZZ Top, and who knows what's next. Anyway, heard from another reader. Actually, heard from the reader who gave us the Johnny Cash song, and thank you again for that, Paul. And meanwhile, we had, let me get it here. We had a reader tell. It's interesting to note that so little jihad comes out in the English-speaking press, and I can't monitor all the non-English speaking presses, and so we cover what we can. And there are some very great sites like Fred Allen Medforth in Germany, who translates a lot of material out of other languages, and gotten a lot of material out of that. But here's a story that was only in the Danish press and was sent to us by a viewer, Yvonne, who is here with us tonight. I just saw you in the chat there, and so thank you for this, Yvonne. But this was a Jewish woman who was wearing a jacket that had an Israeli flag on the back. And she was in Denmark, in Christiania, which is apparently a heavily Muslim area. She started to get jeered at by a group of men saying, "Child murderer, no one will help you here." Asked her if she was Jewish. She said yes. "Are you proud of it?" Then she said yes. They started spitting on her. These were men of Middle Eastern appearance, David. And they started spitting on her. They started attacking her. They tried to tear off the jacket and get at the flag. They finally were able to get a knife, started to cut the flag out of the jacket, calling her a Jewish whore. And the worst part of the story, even after all that, I mean, that's bad enough, but the worst part of the story, David, is that a couple of cops showed up, and she tells them what happened, and the police said, they didn't ask if she was okay. They said, "Why are you carrying an Israeli flag in this area?" So in other words, they've already given up that area. They are completely surrendered to the men of Middle Eastern appearance in that area.
Asians, Robert. The correct term is
yes.
Asians.
Huh. And it's really the same all over, that the police are afraid, the police are cowed, the police are understaffed, or the police are filled with female cops. And I don't mean to offend anybody here, but you got some 6'5" jihadi and a 5'5" female cop. The jihadi's going to be able to do pretty much what he wants.
Yeah, lady's not going to be able to do too much. But yeah, they always end up. Police always end up enforcing some version of the heckler's veto. Now, the heckler's veto, ladies and gentlemen, Western governments are supposed to protect people's right to speak. Governments are supposed to protect people's freedom of expression and so on. In other words, if someone is going to harm you for your speech or your expression or something like that, there's supposed to be laws that protect you from people who would want to harm you and so on. And what you find is the reverse. They blame you for the reaction, because you're causing a reaction among this other group. Way back, Robert, back when we got arrested in Dearborn. So we got arrested in Dearborn. Notice it's a similar situation, right? They're blaming us for the reaction of other people. But there was an expert who was called to the trial. This is a guy who trains police officers and various agents on how they're supposed to protect people's rights and so on. And so they're asking questions about all these various situations. And one of the questions the guy was asked sort of leading up to the trial was, if you show up to an area and the KKK is there and there's people all around them, what's the first thing you're thinking? And the guy said, "We have to protect the KKK because they're the ones who are most likely to be attacked in that situation." So keep in mind, this is a guy who is repulsed by anything the KKK would be saying, but it says, as the government, my job is to stop people who would attack someone else for their speech. And so it's that situation. Guess what? The KKK is obviously saying things that are going to make people flip out. And yet he's saying, my job in that situation is to say, this is the group that is most likely to attack that group. Therefore, I have to protect that group from being attacked. And yet, that's obviously not what they did in Dearborn, and that's not what people do anywhere. I mean, we saw this over and over again all of last year, Robert, where a Jewish person would show up to an area like in London or something like that, and police would say, "You can't be here. You have to get out of here. Go away. You're not allowed to be here. You're going to incite these people." Which, guys, there's a big reason you don't give in to the heckler's veto. The moment you allow the crowd's response to decide what people are allowed to say and how they are to express themselves, the moment you give the crowd that power, that encourages the crowd to control speech through violence. That's what happens, right? In other words, if you have a person speaking, says, I don't like Muhammad, and a mob forms around them, and we'll this is what we'll do to you. This, like what happened to Hatun at Speaker's Corner, a crowd would form around her. Then what would the police come in and do? Protect her? No, they arrest her. They arrest her because they're reacting. It looks like the crowd is ready to do something. And so what does that do? That encourages people to just form a mob and get violent. And you want to avoid that in the West, and therefore you protect the speaker. And no one gets that message apparently ever.
Nope. Speaking of forming a mob and getting violent, Hizb ut-Tahrir, a international group.
Perfect transition.
Thank you very much. Hizb ut-Tahrir is a group that is international, wants to form an international caliphate and restore Sharia wherever it was once enforced, and also extend it to where it has never been enforced. They held a march for Khilafat in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, calling for the establishment of an Islamic state and a caliphate globally. Now, oddly enough, David, they started clashing with police, started attacking police, and the police had to use batons and tear gas to disperse this mob. Now, the mob's calling for something that's basic to Islam, to Sunni Islam, march for Khilafat, the caliphate. Why on earth would they turn violent and attack the police? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I have no idea. I mean, attacking police and things like that, it's almost like they ultimately want to destroy anything that's in their way of imposing Sharia. I don't know. It's a mystery.
Great mystery. Oh, let's go to the United States, to the state of Georgia. This is Stacey K. Heydrich, who is a Superior Court judge. And you can see the Fox 5 headline there, DeKalb County Superior Court judge faces call to resign over social media post about Israel-Hamas war. Now, what did she say? The Council on American Islamic Relations, which is, of course, multiply linked to Hamas, and the head of the Council on American Islamic Relations very famously said that he was happy that October 7th happened and 1,200 Israelis were massacred by Hamas. So Stacey Heydrich, she says this: if anybody has no issues with Hamas, believes they're innocent civilians in Gaza, or thinks October 7th was about land, resistance, or somehow justified in any way, you must watch this footage. That is footage of the October 7th attacks, and hear with your own ears how the jihadists and the people of Gaza were celebrating and gloating about their brutal murder of Jews. And then she says, after you watch it, I will be happy to talk to you about the innocent civilians in Gaza. Now, the thing about it is that it's funny that Trump, for example, recently met with some of the freed hostages, the Israelis, and they all said there was nobody in Gaza who helped us, nobody in Gaza who expressed any sympathy, nobody in Gaza we encountered in all the time we were there who was at all interested in our side in the slightest degree. And I thought that's really striking because, in Nazi Germany, there were Germans who hid Jews at great risk to their own lives. And yet in Gaza, everybody who has come out of there says maybe there are innocent civilians who hate all this going on, but we didn't see any. We never encountered any of them. But CARE now wants her to resign for saying this judge in Georgia.
It's pretty insane, Robert, because that seemed completely reasonable. Like we would be significantly more extreme in the way we talk about that issue than she was. She's just saying, "Hey, why don't you actually familiarize yourself with the positions of the people there, and then come tell me what they think and how concerned I should be about them." I don't know. Seems pretty darn reasonable.
Thing about CARE though is, you and me, they've already got us down. We're Islamophobes and all that, and they've got their hate lists and all that nonsense, and that scares away people who don't know what we really are all about. But a judge in the superior court saying something that gets close to the truth about these issues, they can't have that. So they've got to bring a rage mob against her, because otherwise other people might start speaking the truth. If she gets forced to resign, then they know they can more easily shut up other people in the future.
And does everyone notice the pattern? In Muslim nations, they'll arrest you or kill you for saying the wrong thing. In other places where they can form a mob to silence you, they'll form a mob to silence you, and they'll over time they'll get the police to constantly back down and take the side of the mob. In America, they have groups like the Council on American Islamic Relations, and we'll call you to resign. We'll call you an Islamophobe. We'll try to end your career over what you're saying, even if what you're saying is completely accurate and reasonable. There is a deranged obsession with controlling what everyone else says in Islam, and they do it however they're able to do it. If they actually control the government will actually step in and silence you in various ways, as Iran is doing with Robert Spencer. They'll whine to social media places like YouTube to get YouTube and other platforms to control people's speech. They'll claim to be victims. They'll have Muslim organizations that complain. They'll form mobs. Absolutely obsessed with controlling people's speech. And that's why you don't want to give them an inch on any of this stuff.
Yep. But meanwhile, everybody else is giving them miles. Here's a story out of Austria. This is another story out of Vienna. We saw the pro-Syrian crowd in Vienna. And now, last Monday, a delivery van raced through Vienna's inner city and crashed into the plague column. I didn't know what that was, but now I know that there is a big statue in the middle of Vienna that is dedicated to victims of the plague from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, because, of course, Austria has a very ancient civilization. And so this guy drives his car, crashes into the plague column, and he gets out of the car, resisted arrest, and he starts screaming, "Allahu Akbar." So people were thinking, oh, this was another vehicular jihad attack that went wrong because he crashed, when he really meant to crash into a bunch of people, but he ended up maybe losing control and hitting this statue. And so what do you think they've done, David? Despite the fact that he was screaming Allahu Akbar, they do not know his motive, and they have admitted him to a psych ward.
I have no idea, Robert. I mean, it's like zero. Like at this point, everything is a mystery, because the same things happen over and over and over again from the same people with the same ideas, who are all misunderstanding Islam in exactly the same way. Westerners react in exactly the same way. And so it keeps happening over and over and over again. But I don't know at this point. It's just weird.
Yeah. And it just gets weirder and weirder. The same lies keep on being told. You know, that is a thing about this show, is that there's a certain sameness to it, because these things just keep happening, and people keep on saying the same lies, for that matter. This is Dr. Taj Hargi in Britain, and he is the leader of a moderate Muslim group. And I do not have the name of the moderate Muslim group in this article. Sorry. But anyway, we have talked about him before. And David, you know, I've been working all week, actually longer than that now, on this book about the rape gangs in Britain and Islam's abuse of women in general. About half done. Probably will be out next year. This book, God willing, if I finish it and everything is okay. But in any case, I read with great interest this article this past week that quoted Dr. Taj Hargi about exactly this issue. And what do you think he said? This extremist theology is a total distortion of original Quranic precepts. The rampant oppression of women in Muslim society does not stem from the Quran, but is chiefly the product of misogynistic hadith that he said were inauthentic.
So passages like, let's say, Surah 4, verse 34, those aren't in the Quran?
Apparently not in his copy. Maybe a tame sheep ate them.
So beat your wives. Men are in control of women because they pay for them, and therefore, if women get out of line, you can beat them into submission. So that's not in there. 424, just 10 verses earlier, and Surah 70 and other passages, which talk about taking female captives and doing what you want with them, taking them as sex slaves and so on. Those obviously aren't in his Quran. Maybe Surah 4, verse 3 about polygamy, that's not in there. Definitely can't have Surah 65, verse 4 in there about grown men having sex with prepubescent girls. Can't have any of that. So I'd be interested in checking out this guy's Quran, Robert, if it doesn't have all this stuff.
You know what? It just occurred to me. Maybe he's got the David Wood edition, that you've eaten all these pages. And
that is possible. That is possible.
Maybe you just ate all the pages that had the bad stuff and left the benign pages. And Dr. Taj Hargi, there he is.
I mean, people don't see what my room is actually like. It's a Quran bloodbath in here. I mean, it's everywhere. So little Quran bits, little everywhere.
Yes, but
Weird.
See, all that's left is the beautiful. There's no compulsion in religion.
Yeah.
Whoever kills
no
an innocent
no
person,
compulsion in religion, and just worship God. That's all that's left in his Quran, thanks to me.
And 532 without 533.
Yep. And they even ate off the beginning. I even ate off the beginning of that, where it's for the children of Israel.
Here's an interesting story. This is a guy. You see, he's saying, we have studied the character of Jesus Christ. This is Fadi Boudaya. Fadi Boudaya is a Lebanese journalist, and he was in an interview recently on Lebanon on a Lebanese TV show, saying that Hassan Nasrallah of Hezbollah had redeemed his nation through his resistance, just like Jesus Christ saved his nation from sin, and that Nasrallah was a savior like Christ.
Well, he said it, so it must be true. You know, if someone says it.
Yeah. He wouldn't lie to us, would he?
No.
Not a guy like that.
Couldn't happen.
Meanwhile, in Northern Ireland, this is Gila Ibram, and she was a woman of ill repute. That is, a prostitute. And in Belfast, she met up with a man named Habib Shah Shamel. Habib Shah Shamel. and he apparently murdered her by stabbing her multiple times. Where did he stab her, David?
I'm not familiar with this story, Robert, but just on a hunch, I'll say neck.
That is correct. He
Huh.
stabbed her in the neck. Why did he stab her in the neck?
Because you have these commands in the Quran that are about stabbing people in the neck.
There you go. 8:12:47:4. When you meet the unbelievers, strike the necks. All right. What else we got here? Some terrible stories out of Africa, as is unfortunately so often the case. And this is the Reverend Sylvester. Sorry about that. I had it right here. Sylvester Okechukwu. The Reverend Sylvester Okechukwu of St. Mary Catholic Church in Tachira County, Nigeria, which is an area where Fulani jihadis and other jihadis have been quite active. And he was kidnapped, murdered, found dead on Ash Wednesday morning. Meanwhile, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a little bit farther over in Central Africa, we got Nigeria and West Africa, and then in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, 23 people were killed and 20 taken hostage by the Allied Democratic Forces, which is a jihad group. So the Reverend Sylvester Okechukwu was originally abducted and then murdered, and then the 23 people killed in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, along with 20 taken hostage. What's the deal with the hostages? Why are they taking hostages?
You're seriously asking why
I'm
jihadis
seriously
take
asking
hostages?
for the benefit of those who may not know.
Yeah, that's what you do, because then you got hostages, and it's there's always lots of stuff about taking captives and so on. But generally, you take hostages or you take captives, and if they're females, you might have multiple reasons for doing that. If they're males, you're going to trade them. You'll trade them back, depending on how enraged you are at them. You could kill them later if you want, but you can also trade them for the future, which we see a lot from, like Hamas and so on.
Yeah, this is based on chapter 47, verse 4 of the Quran, which allows you to kill the hostages by cutting their necks, to enslave them, to ransom them for goods or prisoners, or to pardon them. And you decide based on what is best for Islam. All right. Oh, had a tragic story out of France, David. Tragic story. Let me get the picture here. Terrible story, this. You ready? You ready? You strapped in for this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ready.
This is... That guy there playing soccer is Mohamed Bousba. And Mohamed Bousba was up until recently the coach of a French football, or that is soccer team, called French RC Champigny Reserve. I don't even know what any of that means. But anyway, he has now quit his job. He is no longer the coach. And you know why he's no longer the coach, David?
Wasn't doing a good job? I don't know.
Islamophobia. He was... Actually, he wasn't even given it. But they had a tournament, and his wife and son went to get food, and they were given sandwiches containing pork.
Ooh.
And so now Mohamed Bousba has resigned in a rage because of the Islamophobia that he was shown. He said, "Not even a simple apology. I ordered 2 sandwiches from people who knew me but didn't like me. When my wife and son took a bite, we realized they had been served pork."
And so, you ever notice, Robert, the reaction is never, okay, well, I didn't intentionally eat pork and so on, and therefore, it's not like Allah's going to punish me forever or something like that over something I just did by accident. And so, hey, let me go ahead and tell you guys, please be careful. Please be more careful. We're Muslims or something like that. It's always, look at me. Look at me. I need attention. Drama, drama, drama. I'm a victim. Look, I'm being persecuted. Look, the entire world is filled with Islamophobes. I'm going to quit my job. I will never play soccer again.
That's right.
Like your goal every day is like, what can you throw a tantrum over? And it's like, what can you throw a tantrum over, and what can you flail around on the ground like a toddler throwing a tantrum in the checkout aisle at Walmart because mommy wouldn't buy him Skittles. Like, what is that? It's like every day. How can we be in that situation of everyone's persecuting us?
I do want to note also, David, I've been doing Jihad Watch for over 20 years now. 20 years of Jihad news every day. You can go back and look in the archives. There's just tens of thousands of news items on Jihad at jihadwatch.org. Now, over the years, many, many, many Muslims have said to me, I will start Christian Watch about all the Christians who do terrorism. Or
Yeah,
I will start Zionist Watch or Hindu Watch. And I always say, go ahead. I'll be very interested to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, when we really come down to it, every week we've got more than enough material for this program of violent jihad incidents. And when we come to Islamophobia, it's the guy getting the wrong sandwich.
And notice the insane level of hypocrisy there, because every time a jihadi can drive a truck into dozens of people, slaughtering them all, we are not allowed to have one word of criticism about Islam or the ideology that convinces him that we are not allowed to point a finger at any other person in the entire world for sharing that person's ideology, encouraging that line of thinking, and so on. We have to just remain silent. And yet, oh my goodness, my sandwich! This proves that the entire world. What?
So in Canada, up in Canada, the government published this past week, and then almost immediately withdrew after a torrent of ridicule, but I still had to mention it here. The Canadian Guide to Understanding and Combating Islamophobia.
Oh, I want to see that, Robert. Where is that?
I think we got a link at Jihad Watch. Pretty sure. I didn't write these posts. Christine Douglas Williams wrote these posts.
I will check it out.
I'm not entirely sure there's a total link to the actual document, but in any case, there's stories about it, and it's wild. For example, to deny the Nakba being the creation of the State of Israel, and the Nakba means catastrophe. And so to deny that the creation of the State of Israel was a catastrophe is anti-Palestinian racism that would have been prosecuted by Canadian law if this thing had gone through.
Can't it just be like history?
Nope. History is he who controls the past controls the future and all that, Mm. And also, let me see if I can get her here. Yeah, there she is. This is Amira El-Gawabi. And Amira El-Gawabi is the Islamophobia czar for the Canadian government. They actually have a government official.
Do they have a government official for like Hindu phobia or any of that, Robert?
Not a one, just Islamophobia.
Weird. It's always Islam. Weird.
It is very
so.
weird.
Hang on. It's always the group that is hell bent on slaughtering unbelievers in the name of Allah and subjugating the entire world and taking over entire governments. And then, of course, this eventually leads people to go, hey, I'm not sure I want to be controlled by this. And as soon as that happens, then this same group, oh, we're victims, we're victims, we're victims. After all, look, there was a guy who got a pork sandwich. Oh my goodness, look, we need protection. We need government protection. And stupid, idiotic governments go, okay, well, let's form the new wing for combating Islamophobia and give you... What is this, man?
It's crazy. And
meanwhile, but I'm saying it's like a 4-year-old could understand this. Like a 4-year-old, if you actually broke it down to a 4-year-old can understand this. And yet, all the governments in all the world completely clueless.
Yep. And that is Mark Carney, who is the incoming Prime Minister of Canada. Justin Trudeau is stepping down, although I tell you, I'm not Canadian, I don't know, but I've been hearing Justin Trudeau has resigned for like 2 months and he's still there. So I'll believe it when he really goes away. But in any case, this guy is supposed to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. And here he is saying, you can even see the caption. This is a screenshot from a speech he was making. So we agree with Hamas.
They always do.
Yep. And so it looks like Canada is in for more good news to come and more features on this program. Meanwhile, oh yeah, let me do this before we got to go to the super chats, which we still have, oddly enough, even at this late date. 3rd show in a row. We'll see how long it lasts, folks. But in any case, this is Deka Dalak. And she is a state representative in the state of Maine. And she was recently captured on video, and she said, we Somalis living outside of Somalia must always prioritize our country, Somalia.
Huh. Well, you know, that's just her. And who is she? No one important. So as long as we make sure no Somali who actually thinks like that, hey, even if I'm somewhere else, I have to be pushing the agenda of Somalia. As long as no one like that ever gets in a position of political power in a place like the United States, I think we'll be fine.
Like, say, the Maine State House or the U.S. House of Representatives, where Ilhan Omar has also, there was once Ilhan Omar a few months ago, I don't know if we did it on the show, but she was standing next to a very high official. I think the former president of Somalia, prime minister, whatever, but I'm not sure. In any case, he was praising her to the crowd. It was a home crowd, a lot of Somalis in her district. And she said, and the guy said, you can always trust Ilhan. She'll put Somalia first. So there you go. I mean, after all, it's...
Well, we dropped the ball on that one, Robert.
Yeah. I'm not sure we did it, but in any case, now we have 2 elected officials in the United States who are putting Somalia first. Nothing can go wrong from that. Meanwhile, over in Spain, we had 11 Pakistani asylum seekers arrested for being members of the Pakistani Taliban. And I think that's kind of interesting, because what if you had, just as a thought experiment, a Pakistani migrant in the government in Spain who puts Pakistan first? Then maybe he would think, well, these guys aren't doing anything wrong, and let them go. Or not arrest them in the first place. This is the hazards of having elected representatives who are not putting the interests of their own people, or the people they were elected to represent, that is, first.
Small price to pay for diversity, though, Robert.
That's true. At least we're diverse. As Britain commits suicide and becomes a no longer free society, at least they weren't racist. And that's really all that matters. Okay, so we got some super chats here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, and everyone, exciting. Just so everyone knows, as soon as we're done with the super chats, I will be making live my brand new video that I just uploaded, but it's not public yet. But as soon as we're done, I will make the video live, and then we can all go over and check it out.
Can you
spoiler
tell us
alert?
Anything? Yeah.
It's about Lily J. Not sure you're familiar with Lily J, but she basically found a way to grift the entire Ummah. And someone's clearly paying her and giving her these scripts and so on, but she she acts like she's getting all this information from Chat GPT. It's like you look at it and you gotta you'd be like you'd have to have an IQ of like 60 to fall for this. But then you look at her fans and yep, they've got probably a max IQ of 60.
She
Anyway,
must have a lot of Islamic apologist fans.
oh yeah, definitely. And those are the ones who are obviously funding her. But in the video I just made, she's going through arguing that Muhammad is in the Bible and prophesied in the Bible, and she quotes two passages that are about God and says they're actually about Muhammad. And so I point out that okay, you just called Muhammad God. And anyway, that's fun.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I actually discussed that business about the Bible and Muhammad in the book Muhammad: A Critical Biography. Run, don't walk. Get yours now. All right, Christian Gadfly. How do you do this? Oh, there we go. Says test. Yes, thank you, CG. I didn't see there wasn't actually a column for super chats at the beginning of this show, so suddenly it mysteriously showed up as soon as I noticed it wasn't there. Very strange. I do not know what's going on with YouTube. They look like they're about to disallow again. I don't even know why this is happening because I was demonetized years ago and let the video site go dormant for a long time because I got sick for a while, wasn't doing any videos. And then they reminded me that I was demonetized later when I started making videos again. And then suddenly they allow this. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to last. They're still checking Jihad Watch for Hate while the Islamic Republic tries to shut it down. So we'll see how this all shakes out.
Yeah, what you have there, Robert, is there are human beings who do content moderation and that sort of thing. And occasionally you can have a human being. Lots of times you'll have a human being who is on the wrong side of things, like, what? You can't criticize Islam. Banned, that sort of thing. But you'll also have people who go, oh, Jihad Watch, it's good to keep an eye on Jihad. So, yes, sure, he's fine. His content's fine. Nothing here that's actually violating any real YouTube rules. Why would being concerned about Jihad be wrong? Of course we should be concerned about Jihad. Boom, he's fine. But then you've got the rest of YouTube to deal with.
So we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, Metamorphosis, thank you very much. Super chats are here, at least for the moment. Is this you, David? Apologetics Roadshow?
Yep, that's me.
Well, thank you, David.
Had to
That's
test
very
it.
kind of you. Testing.
Had to test it.
Okay. And then we have Kurt Hanneman. Kurt Hanneman says hi. Guten Tag, Kurt. And we have Songs of Relief says Songs of Relief. Hello, Songs of Relief, and thank you. And Andrew Martin. It works for me, yes. Works for all of us for the moment, but we'll see. Papa Kev. Thank you, Papa Kev. And EANDM Creation says, I've had the button since before you went live. Yeah, very strange. I really don't understand what's going on here. And
You will never understand.
Bo Rudder says, no super chats, fishing for dollars. Well, I'm not really. I mean, yeah, we need money to keep going, as everyone does. And it's always struck me as odd that we're not able to partake of these things that everybody else has got here. Because, of course, we're not a hateful channel. We're just telling the truth that is unwelcome.
Well, it is an ongoing problem that you'll have all these platforms and they'll say, oh yeah, Ali Dawa can actually sit there during a live stream saying apostates need to be killed. He's fine. He's totally fine 100% of the time. And then if you criticize that, they come after you.
There you go.
And it's like, yeah, it's all of this is part of like this ongoing pressure on people to conform to the Islamic narrative and so on. And it just sucks that all these platforms and everyone else just becomes part of putting this pressure on people. Yeah, if you're calling for the violent subjugation of the entire world, you're in the good guy category. And if you're opposed to it, you're in the bad guy category. And we're going to punish you in all these various ways.
There you go.
It's insane.
Christian Gadfly, feels so good to finally give Spencer money. Better do it while we can. Thank you, CG, but I have not gotten a penny. I don't know if I ever will. YouTube says there's a certain amount of money that I have gotten from the first two shows. Whether or not they will actually ever pay it is another question.
Yeah, we'll know more like a month or two from now about how things are going.
I will certainly let you know if they do, and we'll see about putting in some improvements. Abu Ahruf, some euro shekels from the two best debaters of 2025. Checking if super chatting from EU works. Yes, Abu, it did. If you were in the EU, that is. Salt. I'm curious, Mr. Spencer, if you did receive a considerable amount of donations for your ministry, what would you do with it? Well, you know something? David came by here some years ago before I was banned from everywhere. And we set up a thing at GoFundMe where I'm banned, and Patreon where I immediately got banned and then was unbanned. And the idea was to construct a set for regular videos. And
Yeah,
that's
people
actually,
don't know. Robert has this giant empty basement that's doing nothing and is completely useless. It's like that could
yep.
be a decent little studio place for interviews, all kinds of things down there.
Yeah, and that was the idea. That's actually one of the reasons why I don't do many videos, is because we never did get that going, because they stopped us from being able to earn any money in all these ways. And so that would still be something on the list should I ever gain funds to be able to do it. Our friend Hussein Mashni says Shakespeare, which I guess is a reference to the poems. And thanks. And hey, Hussein Mashni, we were going to do a show, weren't we? So email me. Mark H. says, I'm surprised David still shows his face here after you humiliated him. Oh, you stripped him of his biggest Islamophobe crown. I don't know. Tough to imitate propagandists, and I start coughing. God bless you both. I ask the saints and those who have won the race to pray that Jesus protects you both. Thank you for your prayers. That is extraordinary, and we much appreciate it. Robin Hood, not fooling me. Mossad pressured YouTube so DW and AP's Mossad handler could receive shekels. Much respect, gentlemen.
Nice.
Yep. Rachel Zesevich, thank you very much, Rachel. Robin Hood says, would love to see Dr. Spencer collaborate with DW and AP on a definitive guide to Muslim polemics. Well, you know, I love DW and AP, but I have never found collaborating on writing with anybody else to be a very workable enterprise, because each person has an idea of how it should be. And, you know, we can write our own books. But should there be general interest in that and I can contribute, I'm certainly willing. Paolo Lungaro. Paolo Lungaro, ciao. Did you see NYC mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani go after Tom Homan over the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil? Yeah, I did see that. I was screaming at him, wasn't it? Muslim NYC mayor candidate. Not good, but it's the future of the United States. Catherine Cavani, we have Muslim rape gangs active in Australia. I will have to look into that because I have a chapter. The first chapter of this new book is on Britain, and then we got other countries in chapter 2. El Gato, look up new chair of UN Human Rights Commission. That would be Saudi Arabia. D. Wood is the goat, says Azazel. Coming from Azazel, I don't know, but anyway. Bo Rudder says, eating during Ramadan? Why? I don't think anything was eaten on this show except the Quran. Paradox, love you guys. We love you, Paradox. Paradoxically enough. Adami, is it possible to make some clothes with pork sewed inside? Yes, but you would attract so many flies. Jack Ray, thank you. And thank you, Jack Ray. Tazbot says, have you heard about UK judiciary to give ethnic minorities lesser sentences than indigenous Brits as a matter of course? Yes. I find that so unbelievable and hard to believe and extraordinary. The mind boggles. I mean, the whole idea, you know, modern Britain, you think about the Magna Carta, you think about King John, and there will be one law for all the people and not one law for the nobles and one law for the commoners. And now they're to throw all that out to appease Islam. Well, it's the death of a great civilization. Apostate of Allah. Every time I sweep my floor, I come across a piece of Quran from a video I posted. You're not alone, D-Dubs. Airy Day.
I know the feeling.
Why is Takia Carlson pushing Iran talking points these days? You'd have to ask him. I don't know. What
He
do you
pushes
think,
some
David?
weird talking points.
Yeah,
Pushes
that's
some
for
weird
sure.
talking points.
He certainly does seem to have gone over to the dark side. Eileen Sloan says, "Hi, when are you coming back to San Antone?" Well, I've never been to San Antone. I was invited to speak there once, and my flights were so delayed I couldn't even go. The whole conference was over by the time I was able to fly there. So they must be talking to you, David.
Yeah, they have a conference in November, certain years, and it runs a cycle of various cities, but it'll be in San Antonio here in the next couple of years, some point.
There you go. And we got Robert Michaels saying, "Robert, I love seeing you with Andrew Clavin. I told him to get David Wood on." Yeah, Andrew, I know you're watching. Get David Wood on. Guntario, "Robert, your treasure." No, you are. Love you both. Blessings in Jesus. And to you as well. PBUM, that is Peace Be Upon Me, says, "Hi, Robert and Dawood. Watching you guys since 2011. Love you both. Any new books on Orthodox history, faith?" I already wrote 2 books about Orthodox history, faith. The Church and the Pope and Empire of God. Get them both, read them, write a report, and send it to me. God bless you both. Keep the faith and fight. You don't really have to write a report, but Empire of God and the Church and the Pope, they're out there, ladies and gentlemen. Eunuch Petsu says, "Please understand, jihadis are just doing God's work." Yikes. That's what they think. They are the embodiment of the adage from Jesus, "The time will come when men will kill you and think they're offering service to God." Celeste 6445, "Love you guys." No, Celeste, we love you. Bosch, hey, look, it's Bosch Foston, the winner of the Muhammad cartoon contest that got attacked by
Hey,
ISIS in
that
2015.
guy almost got all of you killed.
Bosch got all of us killed. We almost got Bosch
He,
killed.
al- he almost got you guys all killed by making a cartoon.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, we were offering money to the winning cartoon, so we almost got him killed. Sorry, Bosch. Bosch, without the truth you tell about Islam and jihad would be an EVEB deeper $ numbers. Thank you, Bosch, and sorry to make fun of typos. I know that's really graceless. And so, Mr. Gatto says, "Great to see you two together. Good to see you two together. Not great. God bless you, Spencer and Mike Winger."
Very rude. I was about to say domo arigato, Mr. Gato, but I won't now because you insulted me.
JD says, "Robert, I can't update payment details, new credit card, on your Patreon. Please check. Love you guys from Southeast Asia." JD doing a great job as vice president, and I will check into that. I don't know if I can do anything about it, but I will see what I can do. And thank you in any case. Generally Speaking says, "Is there another avenue for donation other than YT?" Yes, you can donate to Jihad Watch, which is a 501c3 organization. You will find a big red donate button on the right side of the front page at jihadwatch.org, and to me at Patreon at Robert Spencer at Patreon. And thank you. We're not getting rich here. We are just trying to keep it all afloat. Bo Rudder says, "Eating sandwiches at soccer game during Ramadan?" Yeah, you gotta wonder about old Mohammed Bousba. Was he actually violating Ramadan, or maybe the incident happened a while ago and he's been stewing about it and only resigned now? I don't really know. The news story did not say. So that brings us to the end, ladies and gentlemen, and very exciting because David Wood's new video is about to drop. So go right over
And
there. Yes?
making it live right now,
Right
and
now.
it is live, ladies
And
and gentlemen.
so
Live video waiting on you over on my channel.
go over and see David's video. I will too. And in the meantime, pray, hope, and don't worry.